This week on the Sports Code.
I don't think we're a top 3 team in the world right now.
They knew that they could, but to be fair, it's the best Scottish performance I've seen in a long time.
Scenes at full time is the most tense I've seen, definitely in my lifetime.
It's really bad outlook on the league.
I think give Ferrari time to get the bloody strategy right.
Do you see Tottenham getting relegated?
So what so you want to know?
Okay.
Do I think we're going to get relegated? Yes.
Well, welcome back to the Sports Code. Today, for the first time in a long time, all of us are in the same room together, looking at each other. It's been quite a while. I'm your host, Killian Reardon. I'm joined by
Dylan Smith.
Darren Murray.
Owen Wade.
And Ethan Robertson.
today's podcast. We're going to cover a fair few sports, I think. We're going to start with the Ireland-Wales game. Then we're going to work on the Celtic Rangers. We're going to talk about the F1, which is a sport we haven't talked about in this podcast before. Then we're going to give some plaudits to both the Irish women's hockey team who qualified for the World Cup and the Irish women's football team. And obviously Dylan's going to get his bit about bows. Someone's very excited.
Back again, baby.
But to start, obviously kind of the main sporting event that happened this weekend, Ireland-Wales. Obviously was 27-17 to Ireland, but Wales made a good account of themselves. What do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, it was a closer scoreline I think a lot of people expected, but I think that's more to do with the fact Wales played quite well. They were quite defensively strong, and they scored a couple of very good tries, especially from the loose end prop. That was a great try. I thought Wales made a good show, but Ireland definitely the stronger team, and we might still be in for it now.
What Ireland players stood out to you most in this game?
Yeah, I think it was the usual ones really. Keelan Doris played very well, led from the front, which I think he needed. He had a few lackluster performances, so he needed a big one. But I still like the looks of Balogun. Even though he was slightly at fault for the Reece Carey try, I think Tyke Furlong should have helped him a bit more.
How's he going to stop him though?
Well, he was defending the man without the ball and more the man on the ball, but there's not much he could really do. It was a good score. But the two wingers, I liked him and Stockdale. I think they played well. McCluskey as well, usual performer. I think there was no standout players because it wasn't really a great Ireland performance. It wasn't a classic Ireland performance. But do you know what? I was impressed that they got the job done. Wales really put it up to them. Wales were going in to get a result, and I'm glad they didn't let it slip, and they battled well.
As you mentioned, battling well. Do you feel Ireland's defence it's been very, very strong, the Six Nations? Do you think it was, again, strong?
I think the defence was good. It was very impressive. I was more impressed with the attack. The hold of the ball. The continual phases that we got against a good Welsh defence. They were attacking every breakdown pretty heavily. So even though we weren't scoring as many quick tries, to hold on to the ball for 18, 20 phases is not easy done, especially against a very vicious Welsh defence.
And Ethan, obviously looking long term, this is seen as an almost transitional year for Ireland at some points at the Six Nations. How strong do you think the kind of talent coming through has been and has shown to be throughout this campaign?
I think if you'd asked me at the start of the Six Nations, first game against France, wasn't too impressed with some of the players coming up. But I think now, looking at the World Cup next year, Gibson Park's still quite young and he's a very good scrum half. Jamie Osborne, he's good. Balogun coming in. Tom O'Toole's good as well. I think we'd have a good squad, but I do think there still needs to be improvement made. I think a better backup fly half as opposed to maybe Prendergast, or maybe improve Prendergast's game. I like Crowley being the start now. I think he was good against Wales, scored a good second try. Kicking off the tee isn't great, but he's solid. I think we have a good team, but I don't think we're a top 3 team in the world right now. I don't think. I think we're maybe 4th or 5th at the moment.
Yeah, I think we still need a few players to really, really show up. To be fair, it's the first time I've seen an Ireland team in Six Nations actually experiment as much as they have. The amount of Ulster players playing, it's good to see Balogun and Stockdale back in there. I know they're not particularly young, and then even Nathan Doak getting a run out. I think he didn't get much of a run out, but even getting his first cap was pretty good to see. He's young and he's coming up. And I think they've seen. They backed Craig Casey for a long time, but his performances haven't been there. No. Really haven't. And I do like him. I'm a big fan of him, and he just needs to bring that form that he has at Munster really into the Ireland team. But no, it's good to see a few young players now. I think the place we're lacking is the front three. I know Jack Boyle's coming through, and then you got Tom O'Toole as well from Ulster, but I think they need a few more. You know what I mean? You could see the injuries this year really didn't help us against France. You know what I mean? Lockman coming in. Lockman should never be making the Ireland squad. No harm to him. You know what I mean? He's a good player from Munster, but he's not that international test level. And we should have a young fella who's ready to go and to replace Furlong, because Furlong he battled well against Wales, but you could see he was battered and bruised after it. I mean, he's not going to be lasting past the 40-50 minutes anymore. I think his legs are gone big time.
And obviously we're going into the last game of this campaign. We still have a chance of winning it. Do either of you feel like we can win it? Do you see France kind of messing up, or?
No, I think it's in France's hands at the moment. Now, England, to be fair, will be gunning to get at France after a abysmal Six Nations, losing to
Very poor,
Italy.
yeah.
Like, you mean,
First time ever.
if you told me that at the start, I would never have believed you. But no, I think it's France's to lose, really. And then even that, we've got a tough game against Scotland.
Yeah,
That's not going to be easy.
I agree with you there, but I can see us beating Scotland. Scotland's worst enemies are confidence, and they're coming into this game very confident. But historically, Scotland never do that well against us. I think it's a very good Scottish team. I could definitely see us beating them, but I think you're right. I think it is in France's hands.
They did us no favours, really, conceding 3 late tries, giving France the bonus point.
Yeah, not at all.
Like, that would have been perfect. Scotland winning, France not getting the bonus point. Would have put us just 1 point, I think, behind France. But yeah, I don't see England beating France. Anything can happen in the Six Nations, we've seen it, but
Not in
yeah,
the start of France.
it's France's to lose. I think they thought that against Scotland. They knew they had the extra game. They knew that they could. But to be fair, it's the best Scottish performance I've seen in a long time.
Ever.
They played with some quick speed. Like, their scrum half was getting the ball was maybe 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds ruck time. You mean that French defence just couldn't cope with it.
And we're in a very similar position, obviously, with the senior team, but also the under-20s. Now, you've watched a bit of it. Have you been impressed with what you've seen? Yet, their only loss as well has been against France. They sit behind France, who sit first. Have you been impressed with the under-20s?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few good players. More of them's in the backs. Daniel Ryan's been very impressive on the wing. He got 2 tries against Wales. He's been very good. And then their fullback, Noah Byrne's been pretty impressive as well. But I think we still need a few more props coming through. Now, the captain, I think it's Bashti he's called. I'm not sure 100% his name. Ex-Black Rock captain. Like, he's coming through, and I think he's got another year in under 20s, and he's captain already, so he's stepping up well. But I mean, it's just the front three problem's going to get to us. We just don't have the players to keep up with the likes of New Zealand and France. You mean, you need the weight in the front, and it doesn't matter how good your backs are. If you don't have the pack strength, you're going to get, like, we got demolished in our scrums in the first team. Like, you mean, and I think the under 20s are struggling in the scrums a bit as well. So it's not a good problem to have coming up to a World Cup, really.
Now, we've all been to change to rugby and bring Owen and Dylan into the conversation. We've all we've all seen the scenes at Ibrox. Celtic Rangers, now again, they played each other last week. They've played each other multiple times this season. The scenes at full time is the most tense I've seen, definitely in my lifetime. It was a 0-0. Celtic won 4-2 on penalties after misses from Tavernier and Gassama. Owen and Dylan, what did you make of the clashes after the game?
It's really bad outlook on the league looking in. I think stuff like that, it's always going to happen before matches. It's always going to happen after matches. But being brought onto the pitch and inside of that, and how much was like kind of shown, how much they kind of got away with, there's a lot more to put on the league itself and the officiating. You look at things that happen before matches and after matches, pre-arranged things, and fans always clashing, and it's always going to happen outside of a match setting, and there's no way of stopping it outside of a match, but bringing it then into the stadium, fans getting onto the pitch and fans kind of running riot, it's really bad for anyone looking in for allowing supporters to kind of get into the matches. Obviously, there's been a history of fans from Rangers not being allowed in Celtic Park and vice versa, with Celtic fans not being allowed in Ibrox. And this is more of a driving factor for people who want to stop that from happening, just because of the feel, bad eggs, and it's very easy for them people to kind of criticise football fans as a whole instead of the general group of hooligans that it is, because that happens everywhere, you know, and there's always going to be something bad happening outside, but to take it inside, I think it's a bit of a different story.
Now, the obviously scenes for people that didn't see it, after Celtic's winning penalty, fans made their way within the 6-yard box, kind of 18-yard box, celebrating. Obviously, shouldn't happen, that they shouldn't be coming on the pitch in the first place. And then in retaliation, a couple of Rangers fans came on. A Celtic medical staff was hit by a Rangers fan, and hordes of Rangers fans made their way onto the pitch, right up to where the Celtic fans were, obviously blocked off by police, and then kind of ran back towards the stands to try and make their way onto the streets. Now, Owen, we've heard Dylan's opinions. What do you make of it?
Well, it was kind of just, to be honest, it was a whole lot of nothing really, but, you know, as you said, Celtic scored a winning penalty. A few fans came onto the pitch just over the end line, and then, you know, the line kind of set up with the stewards. Then a few Rangers fans ran on, turned around, came back on again with more of them through flair, you know. But, you know, there was kind of fears that was going to happen because it was the biggest away allocation for Celtic fans in Ibrox, I think since 2018. And that's obviously because it was the Cup, and it was different obviously last week because it was a league game. But yeah, for people were talking as to, you know, whether there should be a bigger away allocation at Ibrox, you know, for the Old Firm, but I think that's gone out the window now after that.
What do you think? Do you think there should be? Do you think they should have that full allocation, or do you think they should be
I think, honestly, now from watching the game, I'm a Celtic fan, but I think the atmosphere was absolutely brilliant. I just thought
it was electric.
That the whole stadium was up for it, especially with that whole stand full of green, white, and gold. It was brilliant. Like, I have to say, so that I think it brought way more benefits than it did. Well, obviously, you know, the coach and staff member getting assaulted. That's you know what you don't want to see. But I feel like if they could manage maybe the stewarding and the police presence at it, I think it could work in the future. But I feel like after what happened there now, that's not even going to be talked about in the future. I don't think that we're going to see an away allocation like that for Celtic for a long time. So
now, obviously last week, 2-2 was a very, very tough 70 minutes for Celtic that they dug in a sense that they were on the back foot the whole game until obviously Celtic got back into it, and then Hatata got the equaliser very, very late on. Compared to last week, what do you make of Celtic's performance?
Well, it was similar to last week in a lot of ways. It was, ended a level at 90 minutes, plenty of drama. I feel like the quality of the match, I feel like was better just marginally this week. I mean, last week, you know, a lot of drama. Kieran Tierney obviously scraping back the draw for us. But, yeah, this week I feel like, obviously, it just felt a little bit different, obviously, to last week because there was, you know, the big presence of Celtic fans. I think since it was a knockout game in the cup, it's obviously going to be more fiery. But yeah, I think it was a good match anyway. And compared to last week, I thought it was a better spectacle. It was better viewing. Obviously, there was the 2 disallowed goals that that kind of changed the tides up and down. But yeah, I feel like the quality was just a little bit better this week, and yeah, it was a better spectacle. Obviously, the scenes afterwards, it's not a great look for Scottish football, but in terms of the game, I feel like it was a good spectacle.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about Celtic Rangers, and I think onlookers of the league, it's such a fierce derby and such a talked about derby, and in a weird way they keep playing each other. And one thing I want to mention is that they have played since January last year. They've played 7 times.
Yeah.
Now, we know fierce derbies. We all watch the Premier League. We've leagues across the world. Dylan, do you think before yesterday, do you think the rivalry was losing a bit of its kind of place in football because they're 7 times in just over a year is a lot.
I get it. It's Glasgow derby's always going to be big, and playing each other so many times kind of will take a bit of the spark out of it. But then again, it's also to do with the league structure and how it splits off after that. You know, like you look at the League of Ireland and take away the cup competitions, every team plays each other 4 times. You know, and if it goes into the 2 cups, the team could end up playing each other 6 times. And that's the same with Scottish football. It depends who you get in the cup and then the league structure. So in order to kind of have it so that these games aren't so common, is you'd have to reassess the whole league structure and nearly cup structure then at that. But it definitely does get flat after a while, I think, because seeing the same kind of games 7 times, there's always going to be a bit of come flat towards the end, kind of. And like as in last week, I felt last week when they played was definitely a bit flat until the last few minutes, obviously, until they got the equaliser. But I feel like Celtic played a bit flat. They weren't really up for it. This week was different. I thought it was despite ending 0-0 after 90 minutes and going to penalties, I did think it was a better game of football. But it's always, I think, two biggest teams in the country, they're always going to meet each other at some stage in the end of the competitions, and they're always going to play each other that many times because of how the league's gone. So
now, keeping on football before we move on to the F1, I wanted to give you a time about Bose. We had our League of Ireland special, obviously a week or 2 back, which is not available on Spotify. But since that podcast, obviously Bose played Rovers. Bose won 3-2. And then Bose played Waterford away, won 1-0. Now, I wanted to ask you, Bose have had this extremely strong start to the season. What is the biggest factor you've seen so far for this early success?
I mean, I'd say it definitely does come down to the players we've brought in and the strengthening the squad, because obviously losing key player like James Clark, I was a bit worried with how they go in, and they've made the right signings. And at the start, it's only been 5 games in, and Alan Reynolds has seemed to use quite a few formations. He's been sticking out with the 4-2-3-1 for majority of last season, and been experimenting now with having 2 strikers up, having kind of players playing different positions, playing a 3 back, playing a 5 back. So there's I think that from the start of this season compared to last season, Bows are a lot more confident in possession. Bows played the ball around extremely well. Where last season, if Bows were a goal or 2 up, and sometimes when they were playing the ball around, I just didn't feel comfortable when watching them with the ball. Compared to this season, a lot of the time Bows have the ball, they don't look to be giving it away, and they nearly backed them to keep it going that little bit more, and especially into the last few minutes of the game, Bows really keep control of what they're able to, and are really able to kind of keep teams till the end, hold them down. And especially, Rovers was a bad example, but it was 2 very sloppy goals to give away, but Rovers weren't in that game at all until the last 5 minutes into the game. And 2 very sloppy goals to concede, but they done the job earlier on in the match, and then especially the most recent game, Waterford. Bows got a goal early, and I think a bit of sloppy defending in the second half. Other than that, Bows kept the ball really well, and definitely should have had a few more goals. And Alan Reynolds has said it in probably nearly every post-match interview this season. Alan Reynolds has made a point that, we should have scored a few more goals. And having Colin Whelan get back into form, James Douglas-Taylor, if he gets back into full fitness, and if he gets back up, could definitely be something dangerous there going forward.
Now, just before we conclude on Bose, do you see Bose slowing down anytime soon?
Early doors of the season, it's really hard to tell. Having the first home match being given up to being the Aviva against Pats, 0-0. Pats are second in the season. Pats are looking really strong themselves. And to that be our kind of only falling point, a bad point to look down on, as it was the first game of the season with a nearly entirely new squad. Bows are going really strong and going on to play Galway now. Galway are sitting, I think, 3rd bottom at home on Friday. I'd find it very hard to not see Bows get some sort of a result there. And I definitely can see, as long as the players keep playing the way they are and getting the ball up, all we need is a tiny bit more composure in front of goal. Because against Pats, Conor Parsons had 2 amazing chances. We're making the chances, and we've shown that we can score. Once it's on a weekly basis, it'd be a very hard team to stop.
Now, I wanted to bring Ethan and Sam. Sam, who, sorry, we didn't get to introduce you. Would you like to?
Hey guys, I'm back.
He was on our Super Bowl special. Now, we're going to bring in a new sport, which is Formula 1. It's the first Grand Prix of the season. Obviously, last season, Lando Norris won. McLaren were the Constructors' Champions. This season, new regulations. It's a lot more electric, which now means 50% of the car power comes from its battery. All electric used to not be. Used to be a bit more bad for the earth. Anyway, it's a step by the FIA, which is the main governing body, to move into a greener light. The Australian Grand Prix kicked off. Mercedes got a 1-2. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli were the first and second, with Charles Leclerc and Hamilton of Ferrari third and fourth. Now, guys, what did you make of the race?
Well, a new regulations, and it's Mercedes on top again, which
Shock.
Shouldn't really surprise too many people. The amount they invest in F1 is quite significant, to a point where every time regulations come around, they seem to have a trick. But I think it's huge controversies with how the racing itself went. I thought it was a bit forced, the way it was. Like, there was lots of overtakes in a sense, but a lot of them were kind of.
It was a lot more tactical overtaking, not to run down the battery.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it.
Like,
yeah,
especially Leclerc and Russell fighting for the lead. It was like
it's a game of cat and mouse.
Russell dumps his battery to overtake. Then all of a sudden his car is, I mean, it was like half a second a lap slower than Leclerc at that stage, and then Leclerc comes back in front, and eventually I think it would have been a lot closer of a battle if Ferrari didn't do Ferrari things with strategy.
They did. They had the same strategy of Mercedes, medium to hard, but they pitted them like 10 laps later. Then it just makes it pointless.
And Mercedes under the virtual safety car, when the race is slowed down, they double stacked, which is a risk in a typical race. But a double stack versus a Ferrari nothing is madness.
Now, sorry, just for people that don't listen to F1, you mentioned medium to hard. What are the differences between the two? And then would you mind explaining double stacking for people?
Okay, so you have 4 types of tires technically. We'll go with just the 3, the easy ones: small, soft, medium, and hard. Soft tires don't last you as long on the track, so it's kind of more suitable for smaller tracks. But it gives you better traction on the turns and not really more speed, but a little bit. Medium tires, we'll go on to hard tires first, because hard tires can be opposite to soft tires. They will last you a lot longer on the laps, but there's not as much traction, but definitely more favoured upon for longer tracks, because you need to last a lot of laps. There's no point having the soft tires. Medium tires is kind of in the middle. Most cars will start the race with medium tires.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a rarity to see softs nowadays. Just I think the cars are kind of, they burn through softs. The amount of grip that you need, they burn through softs so quickly. But for context, for each team, you need at least a pit stop to change tires, change to a different compound of tire, whether it's soft to medium, medium to hard, etc. During a virtual safety car where there's danger on the track, a team will typically at least bring one driver in, because if the racetrack is going slower, you lose less time in the pit stops. Mercedes decided to pit both of their drivers at the same time, a risky move, because they need to get the first driver in and out of the pit box in quick enough time to not delay the second driver.
Yeah. If you mess up,
if you mess up, it's catastrophic. But Mercedes, I mean, China, 2019, Mercedes did it at some point. I think Germany, 2020, they did it as well. Mercedes are very good at double stacking. They're the team that try it the most, and they're the team that succeeded at the most. Yeah. Ferrari, in a kind of moment of madness, I mean, it's Ferrari strategy every year. You learn to just watch and laugh instead of trying to question it. But they decided to pit neither of their drivers in the advantageous period, while Leclerc and Hamilton were both in with the running. Like, I mean, Antonelli finished, I think it was 12 seconds behind Russell in second. Yeah. He wasn't in the running. The two Ferraris, to be honest, during that battle, I thought there was a world where one of them gets in front of Russell and they play the team game and they get at least a race win, whether it's a 1-2 or not. But then the strategy to...
It was a stupid decision. It was just a stupid decision.
Completely cost them the race. It cost them Ferrari even a chance at the race. And then I think the Mercedes is the better car.
The Mercedes is a rocket ship, but I think the drivers in Ferrari is better than the drivers in Mercedes, to be totally honest. But I think moving on from Mercedes, because obviously it was a 1-2 Mercedes, 3-4 Ferrari. It could have went either way if there was a little different strategy in there. There was a couple of other events, obviously, that happened in the Australian Grand Prix. Piastri went out in the formation lap.
God, of his home race.
In his home race.
McLaren, Australian driver, McLaren in his home race, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I do feel very, very bad. I think he had to play a lot of the team game last year, and I think this was kind of... He was looking for a way to kick off the season because he was a little bit low on confidence with Norris winning the title. You never want your teammate to win the title.
Yeah.
But he, what a on the formation lap, what a horrible way to start the year for him and for McLaren. I mean, they just weren't at the races, and I don't think they'll even be within touching distance this year.
Now, we mentioned earlier on about the obviously new car designs, obviously with the sport aiming to become more sustainable and attract new manufacturers. Now there's been several drivers that are very, very critical, Max Verstappen being one, saying that it's more of an energy management competition than a racing competition. Lewis Hamilton, obviously 7-time world champion, saying it's less exciting to drive. Obviously George Russell saying that overtaking is very, very difficult. Do you see this as a step back for Formula One in the sense that we are so familiar with, such great overtakes over the years? Do you see this as a decline?
I think it's the way that sports are going. Like, even to quickly compare to football, it's like now you see grassroots football. It's like tiki-taka kind of build-up play, kind of very tactical play. Where in F1 it was about the excitement. Even like Leclerc was talking about it, he was saying how it's no longer a kind of Daniel Ricciardo latest of the late breakers. It's now kind of an energy management game, which nobody really wants to see. Like, in theory, there's more overtakes, yes, but nobody really wants to see them, play this cat and mouse game for every race. It's going to become. I think it's going to become tired, and even the F1 chiefs and the FA are already looking at they're already looking at changing the rules before China, and I think people would welcome that. Even Russell winning the race, he was comparing it to an energy management simulator.
I can see. I don't know. I'd like to see how the season flows out, because I will say, I know with it was a lot of cat and mouse between Russell and Leclerc, and also Hamilton got involved for a bit. And then lower down the grid as well with I think it was Ocon and Pierre Gasly. But I quite enjoyed the race. I thought it was a good watch, actually. So I'd like to see how it progresses, and I do think I think it'll be I think it'll be quite a close championship this year. I have a feeling it's gonna be a good season. Yeah. I think regardless with the new regulations, because look, you're right, that is how sports going, and sometimes you just gotta accept it.
Yeah, but I think the season can be very exciting because that Mercedes in qualifying, oh my lord, they were the guts of typically in an F1 qualifying session, the best team and maybe the second best team will be within half a second on a really bad day.
Yeah.
Mercedes to the next, which Isaac Hadjar was the next closest car that wasn't a Mercedes, 0.8 of a second over a qualifying lap to third place is madness. But the Ferrari off the line,
it's
that was scary to watch. The two Ferraris off the line, the launch that Leclerc got, firing him into first after the first corner, that will make the season, especially with overtaking being difficult. The Mercedes will probably, I would imagine, it's going to be at least in 80% of the races there'll be a Mercedes on pole. Yeah. But I think the launch that the Ferraris get,
they do get a good start. They got a great start.
Races. Like, other than the strategy, it was
a good race
for the whole race.
Hamilton,
now, obviously we've talked about the struggles that the team's going to have, the driver's going to have this year. Overtake, it's going to be a struggle. Just before I bring in Dara, who's going to talk about Alex Dunn, the up-and-coming Irish Formula 2 driver, we're going to mention, I want to ask you guys, who is your favourite for this campaign?
I think it has to be George Russell, to be honest. I think there's no cut-out favourite, but I think he's the best driver in the best car. Like I think he's a step above Antonelli.
Yeah, he's definitely above Antonelli. I don't know. I think Russell was the pre-season favourite. He was. I don't know. Personally, yeah. I think Hamilton's going to give it a good run. I know he's not raced well the last 3 years, but I do think he raced very well in the Australian Grand Prix, and I just think give Ferrari time to get the bloody strategy right, and him or Leclerc could go on and win it.
I don't think a Ferrari driver will be favourite for the World Championship in the next.
From my eyes, I don't think.
I see that. I just think that he. I thought Lewis was brilliant, and I think he will excel in this regulations just because of how his driving style has gone from that reckless young to refined, and
he's very smart with how he drives, and he will adapt the quickest. I'd say
right, absolutely.
But just quickly, you talked about favourites of winning it. This isn't a favourite to win it now, but just I wanted to mention his name because he drove a storm. It was Arvid Lindblad.
Wow,
what a driver! He's only 18, driving.
What?
His debut. Yeah, his rookie season, his debut race
on the grid this year.
What?
Only rookie on the grid this year.
Yeah, and he obviously drives for the new Red Bull sister F1 team, Racing Bulls. Interesting how I feel about that, but we won't go on. We'll go into it. But I thought he was very impressive. I thought he got off to a great start, and he fought off Verstappen for a long time in the sister car, obviously in the Red Bull. I was very impressed with how Arvid Lindblad raced, and he got points in his debut race, which is always good to see.
Yeah, I thought he was super impressive. I think his battle with Ollie Behrman was kind of a sign of the sign of the season. To be honest, it's like Behrman was almost visibly angry in the cockpit, just trying to get by him for I think it was nearly 20 laps in the race. They were at it. Unlucky not to hold them off in the end, but still to get points on debut in Australia, that's not. It's not the easiest place to
He's
get.
a very aggressive defender.
Now, you've mentioned a rookie. You've mentioned up-and-coming talent.
Mm.
We're going to bring in another up-and-coming talent, Alex Dunn, who's been in the name of us Irish fans' ears, Irish F1 fans' ears for quite a while now. Now, what would you like to say about him?
Yeah, I've been following for a while, ever since the F3 days is when he really caught my eye. And great driver, had a brilliant season last year. Got unlucky with the team penalties for a while, so was never really in that top 3 race to win it. But it was more the team's fault than his fault. And he had a great start to the season this year. Came second or third in the sprint race, I think. Then I think it was third, and then started third in the actual race, and had a brilliant start in the race. Got up to should have been first, but locked the brakes in the first corner, and then got up to second, and just kamikazed across the track into his own teammate. It was the most pointless move I've ever seen. It was the second lap of the race. There was no need for it at all. I don't see what he was thinking. The spot wasn't there. There was just no need for it. He's got 31 more laps to make a move. It's his teammate as well. At the start I thought it was his teammate's fault, but it was completely his fault. And the FAA I think the same, because he got a 10.
You got five place grid penalty for next week,
race, which is just it's not going to help him. He really should be pushing to win the F2s this year and get an F1 seat. He's with Alpine I think now, but just so pointless, and he's not helping himself at all.
It was very young Verstappen-esque to watch that. Yeah.
Which is good to see
he has the ambition. He absolutely has the ambition, but
just stupid.
The move was madness. And I think with all he's gone through in the last year, he was in the Red Bull Academy thanks to Dr. Helmut Marko, and then Red Bull decided that they didn't like him very much, sacked Dr. Helmut, and then subsequently dropped him, leaving the Alpine Academy being his only route into the sport, which I think. I wasn't massively impressed with Franco Colapinto in Australia, so I think there's a seat there for him to grab, and even if he ends up getting out of Alpine, I think there are other seats definitely up for grabs. The new Cadillac team, it's always going to be difficult for a new team, but to have Bottas and Perez, one of them are looking to be replaced almost. They're asking for a replacement to come in there. Even Hulkenberg at Audi. There's definitely a seat for him in the sport, and he has the ambition to go on and be great. He just needs to cut that was shocking.
The pace is there. He definitely has the pace. And Rodin he's a great car this year at Rodin Motorsport, but he just needs to drive clean from now on, because the last thing an F1 team want to do is bring in an F2 driver who is known to be reckless, who's going to cost them money. Like, you mean, it's a lot banking on him being the next Verstappen. Like, you mean,
He has the intangibles, which is what's important. But there's the salary cap. I mean, if he's causing a big enough crash, could cost you $2 to $3 million a year, and teams can't afford that multiple times a season.
He needs to really focus on racing clean. You mean, even if that's sacrificing coming, like he was easily second. He was far faster than his teammate, and it was going to happen eventually with either tyre management, and it would have got him in the pits, or he would have got him on a clear straight. Australia, there's no shortage of overtaking zones. There really isn't. It was a very, very. I don't know what I was thinking, honestly.
I've seen it. There's the Verstappen one when he's along the main straight in Belgium, and you can see there's two cars coming up alongside. Especially it was him versus Raikkonen originally, and he keeps moving. He can't accept being overtaken, and that is winner's mentality at the end of the day. But you have to consider it a bit more deeply than that.
And then after the incident in the team radio, he went on and was like, he's never finishing in front of me again this year.
That was silly.
Yeah, that was a very silly thing to say, because, you mean, there's no point jeopardising your teammate's career just because you can't, overtake him. But it's not, who knows what he was thinking, but I think it's the best place for that to happen is the start of the season. He'll have that in his mind now. I'm sure he got some going over by the team.
Yeah, he's come out since and apologised for it.
I'd say so, and just focus on driving clean now, and he should have a chance in F1 seat.
Now it's good. You've any F1 fans that are listening, you've now got a new face that you keep an eye on. Obviously, a fellow Irishman, so we do hope that he gets some of that racing experience that he will need in the upcoming race and keeps it a bit more cleaner.
If you are enjoying this week's episode of Sports Code, please make sure to rate us on Spotify and follow us on Instagram for episode updates each week. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Now, obviously, we all know International Women's Day was yesterday, and I wanted to give a little section dedicated to the women's sports that happened over the weekend that were in the Irish news. First one, I'll start with a more successful story, in that the Irish women's hockey team made it to the World Cup yesterday with a 3-1 win in a penalty shootout versus Japan after they lost to Australia in their first game 1-0, which happened on Saturday, and they were given one more chance, and they took it very, very well. And goalkeeper Elizabeth Murphy was the hero in the shootout, saving 2 penalties. So fair play to them, and definitely something to look out for in the upcoming summer. Another women's sport I wanted to mention, obviously, was the women's football team. They had 2 games over the weekend, one against France and one against the Netherlands. 2 of the toughest teams you can really play in women's football, especially at the moment. So many talented players across the pitch. But 2 very spirited performances, in my opinion. We saw Kate McCabe get 2 goals, and I think Denise O'Sullivan, who's very, very crucial for the Irish women's team, went down injured early on against France. That really kind of killed their momentum in that game. But Carla Ward's women, very, very spirited performance from them. A lot of bravery, and I think she's definitely trying to bring in that kind of braveness and toughness that the teams of the past kind of don't have. They're kind of fearing top opposition, so that's great to see. Both very similar games in the sense that Ireland played well, battled hard, but both games they conceded for the same player. They conceded 2 goals to Mallard for France and Burstein for the Netherlands. But 2 games that they can hang their heads up and be very, very, very proud of themselves. And going into a tough game against Poland with similar kind of players to France and the Netherlands, full of talented opposition, but they can bring some good momentum, some good strength going forward. And hopefully they can pick up some results and try and work their way up the standings of the group. Now, whilst on air, the FA Cup draws happened, and for anyone that hasn't seen, I do want to also list what that draw was. There's one big game that I think a lot of people are going to look at, and that is Man City got Liverpool.
Did this just happen?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
While we were recording.
Wow.
Live on air.
So, Man City got Liverpool.
Chelsea, Port Vale,
Southampton, Arsenal, and West Ham or Brentford, which is going to happen tonight, versus Leeds. I think there's one game that really stands out to everyone, and that's Manchester City, Liverpool.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Is that not? Are you sure you're not talking about Chelsea Port Vale? I'd say that's.
Go on,
That's
with no disrespect to Port Vale, but
4 games away from Europe.
what do we think, guys? What?
Well, I think Liverpool have quite the mountain to climb there at the Etihad. I mean, there was definitely the performance was there at home for the guts of 85 minutes, and then it kind of all dissipated in the last kind of 10 minutes in that.
Yeah, in the last City Liverpool game. I think it'd be a good game.
They were. I watched them against Newcastle. They romped it. They went 1-0 down, but they.
Yeah, without Haaland. Oh no, they did have Haaland that game.
They were at home. No, they had no Haaland.
They know
It
Haaland,
was
yeah.
Marmouche again, 7 in 3
Oh yeah, he
games.
scored the tap in. That's right.
But they ran riot in that second half against Newcastle. I'm not looking forward to that game.
That City team are not as good as everyone thinks they are. I think they're good. I just don't think they're that much levels above every other team. I think that'd be a great game.
But I think they're in cup winning form.
I think it's different in the cup as well. I think Liverpool are going to give them a good run for it in the cup. Definitely.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a good game.
I mean, the 2 games against. I think the best litmus test for a team: 2 games against the same team in the same week. The Wolves game at the weekend versus the Wolves game on, well, I suppose last weekend, and then during the week and then Friday. Unrecognisable performances. The one during the week was a tragedy to even try and watch, and then at the weekend during the Six Nations, it was. I think the big difference was Rio and Gamoa. To be honest, I think
Looked a real price back.
I really think that Rio deserves the start over Gakpo. I think Gakpo has been just very poor all season, and I think Rio's done enough. I don't know if Slot will break from his stubborn ways, but if he does, it should be Rio that gets in. Whether it's even over Salah at this stage, the two wings have been so lackluster from Liverpool. I think Ngamoa deserves his go in, but I think that will be the best game naturally. I think Arsenal Southampton, that should be a formality, with Southampton struggling mid-table in the Championship this year.
Chelsea Port Vale.
I mean, Chelsea know how to make a hash of games. I mean, that Bradford game a couple of years ago.
Well, you both say that now. Arsenal just played was it Mansfield? Wasn't very convincing from Arsenal. Same with Chelsea. They played Wrexham and they only won. I'd say they only won that game
because of the
red card, which was a very soft red card in my opinion.
I was going to ask you, what did you think of that game?
I thought it was a red.
Yeah, it definitely.
I don't know, lads.
I mean, the foot's going just under the knee there, and he's bringing the studs down.
The studs barely brush off, and he should be. It brushed off his shin. He should be wearing shin guards. What's the footballer's not wearing shin guards?
That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean?
Well, you can't be having your foot go that high.
It is.
But it's a natural. That is a natural position. He's went in for a challenge there, and his foot is up.
But he's gone very high.
No,
he's
gone that high.
He's under the knee.
He's brushed it as well.
The speed of it, it's decent speed, high degree of danger.
Yeah.
I don't think the ref has much of a choice there.
I don't think it was a red.
I thought it was tedious.
I think it was a kind of silly tackle to go into as well.
I didn't think you need to do that.
No, not at all.
Need to do that. I think Garnacho posed enough of a threat.
Exactly,
on that wing,
and
to be honest,
just a body check there does the job, and
even if take the yellow at worst.
Yeah, if that's the bring, like he's getting there for a body check. He doesn't have to lunge.
He's nowhere near the ball. He doesn't get near the ball anyways.
That was the one thing. He doesn't get near the ball. But I don't know.
As in, even regardless of the red, he knows he's not getting near the ball. So just
stop
do something, pull his shirt,
to the floor,
do anything
like that. Yeah.
Like even you saw in the Liverpool game a more kind of detrimental tackle, the shirt pull where your man nearly ripped Ekitike's shirt off him. Yeah. That's it. You can't give more than a yellow for that because there's nothing dangerous.
Unless it's denial of a clear goal scoring.
Yeah, exactly.
With Garnacho, even if he's 1-on-1.
Yeah. Oh, he was poor. That Chelsea front line was poor. Honestly, I was struggling to get through that.
There's very, very, very small, very few kind of bright sparks in that Chelsea team at the moment.
I don't know. They just seem to be able to grind out results like a bit of a machine, but their front line really lacks that potency to get near the kind of the top of the league. Like
it doesn't.
top.
Bar I think João Pedro. You look at that front
line.
Very good. João Pedro has been amazing since they brought him in. But you look at that Chelsea front line and none of them really. Straight fear.
They don't have that fear factor.
Garnacho and
Pedro Neto is terrible.
Port Vale turned them over. I think it's definitely a possibility. I mean, they haven't gotten this far for no reason, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if either the Arsenal game or the Chelsea game was an
With,
upset, especially after the last two.
What would that do for Rosenior, do you think? If they do lose to Port Vale, do you think that puts him under the pressure already? 'Cause I think people didn't like him going to Chelsea, so...
Yeah, they weren't too big a fan of it. I think a loss to Port Vale, because they need to salvage something from the season. They're kind of struggling with top 6, and
There'll be a serious fight for top 6 now.
yeah, and
Top
you know,
4.
if he gets them knocked out of the cup, then you're looking at some serious eyes thrown on him, definitely, because you can't really keep going on. Like, yeah, you might get a few results, but the performances, when you look at them, just haven't been up to par at all for a team that's looking to push for European football.
Now, I wanted to bring everyone that's here into a conversation. Now, it's more of an opinion less than fact, and it's to a certain man across my way, Ethan's detriment.
Oh,
It's a big,
yes. Here we
big
go.
week for Tottenham.
His face has
And
just dropped.
His face has gone from a
Oh
happy
my
man to a
God.
sad man now.
He knows exactly.
They have Atletico Madrid on Tuesday, which is a big game in itself, and that's away in Madrid. And then on Sunday, they have Liverpool away as well. Big,
Oh, God.
big week in their season, basically. I did want to ask everyone two questions. One, do you see Tottenham getting relegated? Two, do Tottenham focus on these Champions League games coming up and try and get through to the next round? Or do they put their focus back in the Premier League, try and get fresh legs going into Sunday and try and get a result against Liverpool and work it like that?
Are you asking me first?
We can go around the table, but I think we'll start with the Spurs.
Should we start with me? Oh,
Well,
great.
Start with
should we
this
go-
poor fella.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Let
go
him dig his
first.
own grave.
Right. So what? So you want to know?
Okay.
Do I think we're going to get relegated? Yes. Well, look, we haven't won a game in 2026 in Premier League. We haven't won a single game. We've barely drawn that many games. We have at least 12 first team players injured. Our Igor Tudor doesn't know what he's... I don't even blame Igor Tudor, because I think Frank's left him in a bit of a rut already, and the players just don't look like they care. Like that Van de Ven red card against Crystal Palace was...
He looked like
He literally just did...
He's on the beach.
That's our captain. That's our captain doing that,
he's
and
on the
he just sacked it off. He doesn't care. He's pulled his arm back. Which, look, I swear we seen that last week in the Premier League. If you deny a goal scoring chance, it is a red card, regardless of the penalty square. At that point, just give him the goal. Why risk the red card and the penalty, which is just both? So I think if it continues like this, we're going to get relegated. We're the worst team in the league at the moment. I don't see us taking points off any team, even Wolves. Wolves have not been
They're
that bad.
good.
Don't see us taking off points. I don't see us taking points off Liverpool on the weekend. Not a chance. Liverpool would beat us with a good team anyway.
Yeah, I think
We have a horrendous record against Liverpool.
especially at Anfield.
Oh, is it? Yeah, no, we're not going to win that. We're going to get smattered. We're going to get hammered.
New words coined for how bad Spurs are.
And if you ask me, do I think we should focus on our Champions League games as opposed to Premier League? Absolutely not. No, sack off the Champions League games. Atletico Madrid, you guys can go through. You know what? We're going to give you a nice, easy game. We are fighting not to get relegated here.
At very best, you're playing Champions League in the Championship.
Yeah, but like we're gonna beat Barcelona, Arsenal, not hope. So no, I think sack off the Champions League completely. Just play the academies.
Now,
Play the academies.
everyone else, I guess if you want to go as well, what do you think?
Yeah, if they keep up the way they're going, I think it's nearly inevitable. I think, looking at it, they just they don't have any mentality about them.
No.
They
The
don't care
players,
anymore.
I think most of the players know they're out of contract and leaving,
Yeah.
and it doesn't seem like it's kind of like they know they're going to be picked up instead of making a point to be picked up.
They just don't know that they're fighting for us.
No,
They don't
not
care,
at all.
yeah.
And,
They
like-
aren't even fighting for a move.
Yeah,
They've
exactly.
accepted it at this stage.
And like,
It's
well,
madness.
Forest's last game was a draw against City. You know, City
Yeah.
they played quite strongly. If they keep that going, you know, West Ham.
West Ham are in good form.
I know they're playing tonight, but you had the game before that they won 1-0 they beat Fulham 1-0.
Yeah.
You know, both teams are looking like they're
Everywhere you look.
getting on some bit of form, and kind of you're looking at Spurs and it doesn't. There's no kind of shining light for them. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It kind of nearly seems like they're doomed per se.
Dar. What do you think?
About Tottenham going down? No, I can't see it happening. I know their form's been really bad, but I feel like it can be pulled back. You mean when you've that caliber player in your team? I know they're not playing well, and the injuries aren't great, but I just don't see it happening. I don't see like the players could let that happen. Because to be fair, who wants to sign someone from Tottenham who got them relegated? Like, you mean it's a big tarnish in the players' career.
I'm glad you added who got them relegated there at the end.
Well, if they do get relegated, but no, I don't see it happening. I think it'll be a Wolves, Burnley. I think West Ham will really. I think they'll choke up near the end. But who knows? It's getting more and more possible as the time goes by, which I thought I'd never say.
Wolves are pulling off the Great Escape right now as well, by the way.
They are, but
somehow
it's not happening.
Putting a lot of good results. Yeah.
They are.
It's a little too late, I think.
Owen, what do you think?
Well, a lot of people are saying where they're hesitant to say Spurs will go down is to say like Spurs are too big of a club to go down. They're not, like, anybody can go down. I wouldn't say they are too big of a club to go down, especially the way they're playing. But they've a few tough fixtures coming up anyway, so it's not looking good for you. I can't lie. If I was to put my money on it, I'd say they would go down, which is, it's not that outrageous to say now, but if you were to say it a year ago, it probably would be. I think they're gone.
Yeah.
And finally, Sam.
I'd be of the opinion that they're a bit too big to go down, to be honest. Like,
Wow.
Two different opinions over here.
I just think that, like, the idea of saying until April comes, I don't think I could stomach going Spurs are actually going to go down. I don't think I can see that happening in reality. But even I think Ethan, you're dead right. Sack off the Champions League with I saw today Simeone came out and he was playing the underdog card against Spurs, and I mean, like,
What are you talking about, mate?
they're fourth. They came from fourth in the league table, and we came from the playoffs.
Yeah.
Watch one Spurs game. I don't know what voodoo magic they've pulled off in the Champions League, but they'd want to convert that into the league and sack off the Champions League as soon as possible.
I think just with the big club argument, okay, I think that the whole this club's too big to get relegated thing came about when Everton were going to get relegated a couple of years ago, and they fought back, and they were like, oh yeah, Everton is too big of a club to get relegated because they didn't. They fought. They got out of it.
They have some voodoo. They can't go.
They had Richarlison, relegation battle Richarlison, who Spurs actually had to have as well. But the difference, I think, with that Everton team and the Spurs team is that
They had heart.
They had heart. Yeah, exactly. The players
resolve.
did not want Everton to go down. They cared about the fans. They were gunning for it. I couldn't name you more than 5 players in that starting Spurs team today. Or not today, the starting Spurs team over the weekend against Crystal Palace that actually looked like they wanted to win that game. Half of them just looked like they just... Archie Gray was the only player who looked like he really wanted to win that game.
I mean, when you look at like the argument that teams are too big to go down, like Leeds in 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
They were a mess. They were a mess.
They were a mess.
Well, how do you think Spurs are now? Spurs are a mess.
I mean, Leeds were also in the Champions League, weren't they?
Yeah. I suppose
they were pretty dominant around that area. They made it to a Champions League semi-final, wasn't it, the year before that?
Yeah. 102 was Champions League semi-final.
So they were definitely up there. They were quite a huge team around the 90s and early 2000s, and they went down just like Spurs.
Yeah. Got
into a bit of a rut and couldn't get themselves out of it, and kind of saw what happened to Leeds after that.
I don't know how anyone can see us getting out of it. We haven't won a game. Like I said, we haven't won a game for League 2026, and the players just don't care. So,
I mean, the biggest upside is that you're still out of the relegation zone at the moment.
Yeah, by one point.
That's the only good way of looking at it.
That Crystal Palace game, there was nothing there.
Terrible.
There was nothing there.
I didn't watch the second half.
The second
I couldn't
half,
watch
honestly,
it.
the second half was better.
I couldn't watch it.
I think the resolve kind of the players showed up a little bit in the second half, but I mean, you're showing up when you're 3-1
when you're
down.
3-1 down, exactly. With 10 men as well, there's not
down
much you
at
can
home.
do.
I think Bissouma was giving it a bit. Archie Gray was running around.
Archie Gray was good. He was the only player I could say who could.
I just thought that the rest of them just weren't.
Game.
They just weren't really. I think Porro being the vice captain or he's interim captain as such when Van de Ven went off. He was like he showed passion, but in all the wrong areas. Like he was fighting with the linesman. He fought with the fourth official when he came off. He nearly had a scrap with them.
Yeah.
He was just anytime anything went wrong, he just kind of hoof it up the pitch and it would go wrong, and he would instantly go to somebody else or go he just looked like he was angry being there.
Yeah.
And that's what you need players to be angry, but you need them to channel that.
Show a
into
bit of quality on the
performances.
ball when you're angry.
He's-
Don't just do stupid things and
Yeah,
make stupid
I
decisions.
just
you know?
there wasn't even a second where I saw Spurs looking like they were going to get back
Yeah.
into it.
I think before, so obviously we're almost done now. I think I'll ask the host Killian. Killian, do you think that Spurs are going to go
Impartial
down,
host.
or do you think we're going to fight for it and we're going to stay up? What do you think?
Well, I think when I look through that Spurs team and I go 1 through 11, I don't see a single player that would fill me with any hope of staying in the Premier League. And I'm going to be completely honest. And
Do you mean that just by like the heart they have or the quality they have,
I think
or a bit of both?
both.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few players, and I
Not
don't mean
returns.
to out individual players, but I'm going to. I think the signings of Kola Moani, I think the signings of Tell, I think these type of money signings are not what you mentioned. Parra, I think that's a really good point. I think he's just not a leader. He's in a shell almost. He's I think he's been exposed. I think all he's been exposed. All he could do really was cross.
Yeah.
And then now, when you've not even got a threat in the box, he's been
What are you crossing to? I think, but Spurs for the first time with the likes of Colomani, if they're moving like a bigger club than they are, which sounds madness, but Spurs are now paying. I think they're paying the price of being a club. Honestly, based on how injury prone the squad is, it's mid-table quality at best.
Yeah, we have one of the lowest wage gaps in the Premier League. It's the other thing.
but
We do not pay the wages for the top quality players.
The signings
Just-
are not robust Premier League signings.
Just to touch on the signings thing there, we definitely do have poor transfer signings. January transfer window was abysmal. We signed Souza as a kind of prospect left back to loan out at the end of the season, which we're not looking for that. And we signed Conor Gallagher, a non-progressive, more defensive-minded midfielder. Once again, we didn't need that.
go
We
for
needed a winger or a progressive midfielder. But I do think definitely a big part to play is how unlucky we have been with the injuries as well. I don't think that's obviously it's a big reason. I genuinely don't think it's the biggest. I just think the passion's the biggest. But just touch on it quickly, Kulusevski and Maddison, two
Huge
good
players for your team.
players. They were very big for us last
You wouldn't
season.
go down if they were both playing.
No, and they haven't played a game this season. And then obviously Kuda's been injured for 3 months. I thought
He was the
quite an
bright spark.
impactful
I
player.
thought he was the bright spark for you for
Yeah,
for when he was there, and then obviously being gone for so long. But I think if you have even two of those three, I don't think that you're in the position that you're in.
sure. Look,
Yeah. So my final thought is, I think they
will
go
Yeah.
down. But I purely think Forest got a great result against Man City away. Brilliant result for them. Obviously, it's only a point, but a point against Man City, who are in this
Yeah.
title race, who are a lot of momentum, is a great point.
especially for
And I
Forest, who've
think
been
West
so poor.
Ham, Somerville's been excellent for them. Nuno's got them playing a certain way
they've,
again.
they've started to brew it up a little
And I
bit. But
just
even
think-
Forest,
Yeah.
they were. I mean, Liverpool scraped through them. They came back twice at the Etihad. The two of them, the two performances there, very inspiring. They were great in the in Europe during the week or the week before last. I think they're on a bit of a snowball of momentum,
Yeah.
and I think I think they'll be very much breathing down Spurs' neck if they're not already past them.
And I'm sure it's a conversation that it's not the end of. So
We'll be back.
We'll
We'll be
spare
back.
Ethan this last minute now.
No, we'll win all the
Um,
next games and we won't be worrying about relegation. Don't worry, lads. We're going to win the Champions League as
Clip
well.
that.
Easy
Somebody clip
peasy.
that.
Just obviously we don't have cameras on, but he looked extremely sad at the floor whilst he was saying that. Anyway,
I'll
To
hope it's
conclude-
subsided that poor child.
thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the Sports Code. Hopefully we covered as many sports we can and the ones you wanted to listen to. But make sure to check out our Instagram. We always ask for people's opinions and what they want to hear. Make sure to listen to the Spotify. Obviously, if you're listening to this on the Spotify, thank you. And make sure to listen to the other ones. I've been your host, Killian Reardon. I've been joined by...
Dylan Smith, Dar Murray.
Owen Wade.
Sam Byrne.
And a very sad Ethan Robertson.
And thank you very much. And we hope to catch you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.